So Mark, talk to me about initialize conditionally.
Sure, Rory. So this is kind of an interesting refactoring, and they're kind of like, you might consider this a benefit going forward or not. But this is for folks who like to have code that is, optimized totally, even if those optimizations are completely undetectable by the end user. And this is kind of an example of that. And this can be useful if you're debugging code that's complex, and you can kind of simplify things. But here's what happens here, right? We've got a method call called getAgeDescription. We initialize a local variable here to the word young, and then if we see that the age of the person is actually older, we change that value, reassigning to that local again a new value. So if age is over 70, what happens is we actually have two assignments. We have an assignment there and then another one right afterwards. And so if you're stepping through debugging, that might be a little bit, it might throw you off a little bit that the value is changing when it doesn't need to. So what initialize conditionally does is it takes that initialization and it makes it so that it only happens once. So here, that's what it looks like right there. So now instead of initializing at the beginning and then maybe initializing a second time, and this may also come in handy with setters for properties that have side effects that maybe have to build something or something along those lines, or log something or check something that takes a little bit of time each time it's assigned, in which case, yeah, this might actually give you a noticeable performance increase. But it basically just says, look, you've got there's a path through the code where you're assigning the same variable twice, and we can change that so that you only assign once. We've now created the path through the code so that local only gets a single assignment. Does that make sense?
Sure. It does. I mean, I'd even add, it actually looks nicer now. To me, that code is more symmetrical. I can follow it a little clearer. If the initial start point had that description being assigned way up the method, actually
Right.
You've now brought all of the assignments down into one location. So there's this feeling that it is complete and it's all centralized in one sensible location.
Right, exactly. No, I totally agree with you there. It is, if you have a big gap between those two, the code becomes harder to read. And going up there and putting that fix in there, saying initialize conditionally, there you can see what's going on there. It's much easier to see what's happening. So yes,
Sure.
You might find the code easier to read if you do it this way, or you might like it better the old way. If I undo this, by the way, and clear this out like this, the code actually has fewer lines of code here, right? So it actually does, in some cases, increase the number of lines of code because it
Sure.
adds that else statement there, right? So some may argue it improves readability. Others may argue that it increases the extra line of code, adds you an extra line of code that you didn't have before. It's like I say, with everything, it's a choice, right? You want to make this easier to read, and you find this useful, then you can use it.
Fair enough. Okay, let's just confirm one last time. Where is the availability? Where do we place our caret to get this to function?
Sure, you put your caret on the variable that's initialized. That's got the initialization right up here.
So on the variable that will be conditionally altered, so to speak, later on.
Yes. Now it might also be available here on the F. Let me check. It is not available on the F. I was thinking it might, but it's not. Also notice that there's the squiggly underline right there. That indicates that we've got a code issue, and it's just there again telling us that, hey, we've detected code that we can potentially improve. Right? We can improve it if you like that. Okay.
That certainly makes it easier to discover. Yes, excellent stuff.